Welcome to the latest abomination of a hybrid ship. The Kearsarge is a tier 9 battleship with Tiny Tims from the Midway, I believe. And, well, this ship is kind of insane. Honestly, I can't believe it made it into the game. And I really do think this is easily one of the most game-breaking normal ships that they've released, you know, quote-unquote normal ships. This is on the level or similar levels to subs and aircraft carriers for me as far as game breaking goes. The previous hybrid ships were okay and they offered some spotting, but they had some significant disadvantages, especially in the damage output department compared to their counterparts at the similar tier. The problem is the Kearsarge is actually just better. Like, let's compare it to a Minnesota tier 9 battleship from the American tree. This ship has better guns, it has more HP, it has similar-ish armor, it's faster, it has better AA-ish depending on if you have defensive fire up, but it's just a better ship overall. And you get this whole gimmick of being able to spot things. Now, in this game, I want you to really notice the, well, massive amount of damage I'm going to take while I'm angled. Yes, turned out broadside to a Missouri, of course I'm going to eat a bunch of damage, but the real weakness here of this ship is this flight deck. You can overmatch through the sides of this thing very, very easily, and it's not hard to get full pens at all, so that's where you're going to want to hit this thing. But you saw earlier on, we hit that Freddy at the beginning of this game for a ton of damage, 17k from the rockets, and then a follow-up 10k into a superstructure from the main guns. It's ridiculous, the damage output of this thing. I'm averaging so far, you know, and this is only a couple days of playing it, over 160,000 damage out of this thing. It is ridiculous the amount of damage you can do, and of course you have this insane ability to impact the battle through spotting and damage with these rocket planes. It's crazy what this ship is able to do. It is on a whole other level of power than I think any other tier 9 ship before it. Even than Musashi. I know, that's a bold claim. Not sure if I completely agree with that one, but my thought is this is going to be even more game-breaking than a Yamato tier down. That's how good this thing is. Another double fire and 6 hits on that Missouri. Somehow he lives. But that extra spotting allows that Prince Ruprecht to get another shot in on that Missouri, which is then going to kill him. Somehow, I'm still alive here. That's the main point of this clip. It's not necessarily the damage output. I wanted to show you this one just because I somehow managed to live here. I turned out broadside to a Missouri, and then I was being shot at by 2 Missouris, both on either side of me, and a Tirpitz yet, as well as this Mogami here. Somehow we are still living. So while this ship is a little bit squishy as far as this superstructure flight deck goes, it is still pretty hard to take down. Just look at that HP pool, 84,000. I'm not sure this ship really needed that. On top of that, the ship is quite fast. It doesn't turn, but it is quite fast. So sometimes by varying your speed, you can dodge a lot of salvos from people. It is quite ridiculous what this thing is capable of, even with this massive tumor of a superstructure flight deck that gives people easy damage into your ship. It's just insane. I can't believe this made it into the game, truly. I honestly believe that this could be put to tier 10 and nothing changed about it, and it would still be one of the better ships at tier 10 as far as the battleships are concerned. And honestly, that's just down to this ability to spot with these planes. And I'm going to show some crazy carry matches and that kind of thing later where I've used these planes to just win games that normally I wouldn't be able to out of a battleship. But for now, we actually lived through that Tirpitz shot. I wanted to just show you and get that out of the way, so I can just say this ship is relatively tanky still, even though you would believe it's very squishy to this massive superstructure. Now this one, getting into this match, this is my first game, very first match with this ship. And, well, there's an Albemarle, which just got citadeled because we have 12 North Carolina guns with the accuracy upgrade, because we're at tier 9, right? So these are very accurate, hard-hitting guns. You just need to be used to the way they aim. So we already got a big hit into this guy. Now we get to fly over with these planes. Ignore the replay bug of the reticle not being on him. Trust me. I aimed correctly. That was 15k and a triple fire. And, well, I think you know what happens when somebody's broadside to North Carolina guns, right? So that's a pretty quick 38k damage there into that poor Albemarle. We absolutely nuked that guy. Moving forward, we get to just run at people with these planes, getting them spotted for our team to shoot at. And of course, with the rockets, they actually pen 68 millimeters of armor. And that means we can do 10,000 damage into an Ohio and get a fire. So he's going to be ticking for a bunch of damage with that fire unless he damage cons it, which then opens him up to HE salvos from us and our team to light more permanent fires. And on top of that, it's just permanent 10k of damage, right? Like, this is, I go over to your ship, I click on your ship, and I do 10,000 damage. That's what these rocket planes are. And I think even with these rocket planes being pretty good at dealing damage, right? We're going to get another, what, 9k into this guy? Yeah, basically 10,000 damage and then he's dead, right? Even if these things didn't do damage, I still think they're game-breaking. Truly. The ability to launch a plane and just spot something out of your battleship is too strong. The weakness of a battleship has always been its battle impact. It does good damage, it can tank a little bit longer than other ships, but its weakness has always been it can't spot for itself, right? And giving a battleship that ability is just too strong. You can't do that. That's one of the reasons I think aircraft carriers are so insane, and submarines. They have this ability to go get all that information without risking much at all. Destroyers have the ability to get information, but they are risking more, much more than an aircraft carrier with some planes, and a submarine that can just dip below the water very easily, go to maximum depth, and run away, right? It's these other classes, these other additions of submarines and aircraft carriers that are really not good for the game. They give too much information too easily, and that's on top of the ridiculous damage they deal that feels quite unfair. I would say that the HE spam out of the Kearsarge is probably one of the best ways to go about things with this ship. You're going to get fires, you're going to get damage. You can see we were doing nearly 10k to this Yamato near max range. And then with the fire lit, well, we can just go in with our rocket planes and get more damage, and if he damage cons, we're likely to get fires, all that stuff. It's just dots on dots on dots. It's constant damage. And because we're also spotting with these rocket planes, and there's now this delay, right? We all know about the rocket plane nerf where they shoot the machine guns and it delays their attack. Well, that delay keeps the guy spotted. So if you hit your strike and then go back to your ship quick, you can get a shot out of your ship while your planes are in that attack motion. Now, first game, 200k. It's a pretty good result, gotta say. Honestly, it's not been all amazing games in this thing, but most of the matches where I didn't do a lot of damage and have a lot of battle impact, they were just the steamrolls where my team was winning, right? In a lot of the matches, in fact, I didn't actually have aircraft carriers in the game. So what does that mean? That means nothing is spotted for my team and the enemy team. So being the hybrid ship, I wait until my planes come up, and we can just go spot half the enemy team. There's a DD in the cap. All right, that's a pretty easy spot. Now my Shima knows exactly where he is and what's there and what to deal with. Information he wouldn't have had before, not nearly as easily. We know where the Smolensk is now, Shikishima, Georgia, find the North Carolina on his own. Look at this information we're getting that we just wouldn't have had in a normal match. And that is why the spotting is so game-breaking. It gives you too much for too little of cost. It's just too easy to get that information. We now know that the enemy team has their strong side down at A. We now know that a Smolensk is going to have to be rooted out at C, so we don't really want to push bow in. We want to find ways of pushing around using islands and not getting ourselves burnt down by a Smolensk. Right? There's just so much information gained. And on top of that, these planes are really, really good at chasing and hunting down low health ships. So the Shikishima, right? Low HP, we've gotten him down with the help of our team, of course, but he manages to go dark. Well, we can just pop our planes up, get him spotted again, and you can see he's getting a heal off. He's on 16k and healing right now. But our spotting here is going to allow our team to do a little bit more damage in. And if we get a fire here, we might just kill him with a fire. Now, I'm pretty sure he has his damage con available, so 7k and a fire, well, he damage cons that. But he's still spotted long enough for some of my teammates to get some shots in. And I believe one of them gets a permanent fire on him now. So he's just guaranteed dead at this point. Or maybe it's in a second here. He's not actually ticking right now. But the Shikishima probably would have escaped alive had it not been for these planes. And there's that permanent fire that someone else got on him. If I didn't have these planes to just go run over and spot him for free, right? Because it is free spotting. I have unlimited planes. He dies. Without me in the game, he lives. That's just crazy. That is just so game-breaking to me. It's just unbelievable that this is allowed. It's one of the reasons I really dislike having CVs in the game. And it makes this Kearsarge so difficult to deal with. Here's a good thing about the planes is, well, you can go find a Smolensk that, well, I think he just got citadeled by the Monty, so he's not on very much HP. Get a nice little, blind drop and kill him. That's always nice to see, but I'd rather not have a ship like this in the game. Moving farther ahead, our team's pushing, but we don't have vision. Our DDs are pretty far back or on the other flank, so I just pop my plane and go spot. Oh, look at that. We find the Yu Yang. We now know where some torpedoes might come from. We get the green light to push in with our team. We know exactly where everybody is. Now this Tulsa getting spotted by our planes. And can we get the shot over the island? It's so crazy. I can spot and then get this shot not quite over the island. But I really was hoping that one would hit, because that just is such a powerful tool to gain that vision, be able to come back to your ship, and then get a potential devastating salvo out of your 12 406mm guns. These guns hit hard, as I'm sure you've been seeing throughout this video. I've had some pretty massive salvos out of this thing, with both HE and the AP. And on top of that, in a match like this, where it's really close down to the wire, I just become the CV, where I can go through and cap all the caps that are far away from everyone, and still impact the game with spotting and a little bit of damage output because I have these planes. So I get to go spot all these guys nice and easily, allowing for our Musashi and Tashkents to smoke up or deal a lot of damage from really long range. They don't have to risk their ships for spotting because I can do that for them. It's crazy. As we get the B cap and are on our way to A now. The ship is very fast, so we're going to be at A very soon. This is one of the most dangerous ships to be facing in the endgame. If a Kearsarge makes it to late game, good luck. If they know what they're doing, this thing can spot for itself, it can reset caps, it does a bunch of damage, it can track down the low HP ships that are running away, trying to hide and extend the game and use the points that are saved in their ship to keep their team in the lead. You can just track them down. And because this ship is so fast, you can actually get through a lot of these capture zones and get to different areas of the map where your main guns can then impact things. The range, not great initially. You can take range mod for free on American battleships because the accuracy or dispersion mod is in the 6th slot. So in the 3rd slot, you just take range and you've got 22-ish kilometers of range. That's more than enough with North Carolina guns. And, well, it is a bit of an issue with dispersion with any battleship, so you're going to see that here with this Donskoy. Ultimately, it doesn't really matter. I did forget to mention, by the way, that we got a fire with one hit on that Georgia, who then burnt out because his damage con was used. So, pretty nuts ability to impact games here at the very end of things. It's a ship that doesn't do amazing in the early game. You can do that spotting, but you're not really a ship that's capable of pushing all that well in the early game. Like I showed earlier, you do take a lot of damage to your superstructure, that flight deck area. But late game like this, you got HP, well, you got 84,000 HP to work with. That's a lot for anybody to burn through. So as long as you stay relatively angled, which, by the way, this ship has incredibly good turret angles on the guns. So forward and back, you're getting all your guns off from relative safety. Even Kearsarge doesn't have that. The other hybrid ships have to go very broadside to get their full firepower off. The Issei, it's kind of crazy what this ship all has going for it. It really does feel like it should be at tier 10, given the power level of this thing. It's kind of ridiculous. The Donskoy attempts to dodge our rocket strike by slowing down, and, well, slowing down in front of a Musashi and a Kearsarge means you're just going to eat a ton of damage, because all that overmatch and, well, high alpha damage shells means you're going to die because of that. So I'm not sure we win that game without me there, getting that spotting, getting those caps so quickly, and being able to finish off those low HP targets. Nearly a Kraken, but still a good carry nonetheless. Now here is the last match I really wanted to show you. This is the best of the best one. So if you made it here, I do appreciate you sticking around this long in this video. But this one is the near solo warrior. Nearly, because I was alone versus 3 in this one, not alone versus 4. But still, a difficult prospect to deal with for a battleship, especially when, I'll spoil it a little bit, we're going to be alone versus 2 DDs in a battleship. That is a tough thing to deal with for most battleships, not for this one. Now, I don't know if you noticed what I just did there, but there's Apollo Emilio on our flank. And, well, we're 3 battleships alone. The perfect YOLO targets for Apollo Emilio. He's probably licking his lips with anticipation there. But because I have these planes, I can go spot him before he even gets in range with his fuel smoke. So he's forced to pop his fuel smoke, and that means he's not going to get a very good YOLO on any of our battleships. Our Soyuz does end up going down anyway. I think he only ate one of the Apollo's torps. But as soon as the planes are up again, I can go spot this Apollo again. He's the biggest threat to our battleships that are left, right? We have 3 battleships and a DD. The biggest threat here is definitely this Apollo. We need to keep our battleships relatively healthy so that they can deal with the Jean Bart and the Izumo. So I'm just going to harass this poor Apollo Emilio player. He didn't do anything wrong, but what's he supposed to do against this? He's very little gun DPM. He really does rely on his ability to just full send it in and kill some battleships or just DDs or cruisers. So all that spotting there delayed him and his ability to impact the game, right? All the while, I can be doing that spotting, which is hugely impactful, keeping him out of the game, one of their best ships remaining. And then as soon as I'm done spotting and I try and strike, I just go back to my ship and fire off a salvo of 12 406mm guns. It's insane what this ship is capable of doing. And then once we have our planes back up again, minute 30 later, they do go on cooldown as soon as you launch them, so you could fly around for a minute 30, try and strike someone, go back to your ship, and then instantly relaunch the planes again. We go and spot both the remaining destroyers. We have a full health Jutland against a Apollo Emilio, and, well, he's on, what, 3/4 HP, and a Jutland on basically no HP. So getting all this information is great for our remaining Jutland, allowing him to make an educated play based on some information that he has. Unfortunately, the way the spotting system works here is that ships can start sending their AA at your planes, but they actually don't get spotted for a few seconds. There's a bit of a delay, making it difficult for you to strike DDs. That's why I'm primarily striking battleships, but I still am trying to go find the DDs, trying to get that spotting, trying to get that information. But you'll remember I did say I was in a 1v3, so this full health Jutland is about to lose to a 3/4 HP Apollo, which I was a little disappointed at. I figured for sure Jutland DPM, even though it's been nerfed countless times, would be enough to deal with this guy, but I'm not really sure what happened here. But regardless, it all does work out okay in the end. We're up to 164,000 damage, even before dealing with this 1v3 situation here. And you'll notice I'm with HE. I'm keeping with HE because this is an angled Izumo. I'm not going to do anything with AP. Honestly, the HE is so good on this thing that it's only for the flattest of broadsides at closer ranges you probably want to use AP on it. The HE just hits that hard. It's kind of ridiculous how strong HE is in this game. So, yep, that was 14,000 damage pretty much, and 2 fires. Well, he damage con that. While our main guns are reloading, because they have around a 36-second reload base, we can just send out our rocket planes and go try and light them on fire again, because of course we can do this, because we're a hybrid ship. It's kind of insane what this thing is capable of. And of course, those rockets are Tiny Tims, so they pen 68 millimeters as well. So we get another huge hit and a fire, and the HE manages to finish him off. Close quarters expert even. Don't build for the secondaries on this thing. They're not actually that good. Long reload, poor accuracy. They don't get that improved accuracy like Ohio and Georgia and Massachusetts do. But they can be useful every once in a while. Slow down and turret in, pretty typical of a Jutland to launch torpedoes here. Trying to just mitigate the damage done to myself. And honestly, all we need to do is figure out where the Apollo is at this point, and we've pretty much won this game. The points are close enough that if they decide to run away, I can just go spot them with my planes while going and catching capture zones, because I'm so fast as this ridiculously fast battleship for how big it is. Another smoke screen pops up. We know the Apollo's coming for us, so we just turn away. If they were trying to run away to A, I would have continued to charge to B since the Jutland had used most of his torpedoes. But now we know where the Apollo is, we just turn away and we know we've won this at this point. Pretty much, because the Jutland is on such low HP that there's no way I can't kill him with these planes combined with my main gun salvo. He in fact shoots. There's some weird spotting mechanics there with the corner of some of these islands, so unfortunately for him, he gets lit up, and our salvo is just able to catch him. Apollo runs out of smoke at 3 kilometers. All you gotta do is stay calm here in this scenario. Honestly, he's probably freaking out a little bit because he's the last ship alive, and all we have to do is make sure we don't eat 4 torpedoes. So he has 3 sets, right? So we just need to make sure we dodge and try to make sure we're going to, well, eat 1 or 2 on the stern, and that's it. This thing doesn't really have a very good torpedo belt, so we're trying to take advantage of saturation, right? Torpedoes that hit the bow or stern end up saturating those sections, and then the next set of torps that hit there do less damage every time. So this guy's, well, he's used 2 racks already. So all we got to do is make sure we eat 1 or 2 or 3. I think it's 2 is what we can eat from this, and we'll end up just fine. See? It's not too difficult in these situations. Just play it calm, play it cool, and you should win it. There was no way for that Apollo to get on my side, at least to get even more torpedoes into me, just because I'm so fast for a battleship, and my guns reload in time to deal with him. So just play it calm, play it easy, and games like this can just come to you in this ship. And if they had run away, maybe that's the thing you're thinking about, why didn't they run away and try and use the caps? Well, my planes just go spot them, and then I can just shoot them in every time that I go spot them. It's kind of ridiculous. The points were close enough that I do believe that I could have finished both of them off, or at least one of them, and won that match anyway. So while I show you the build, I'm going to give you a bit of an analogy, where I think the Issei is a bit of a up-tiered Congo with worse pen angles, or worse turret angles, and sacrifices a lot to get mediocre rocket plane, or torpedo planes, sorry. And the tone feels like a heavily nerfed Atago with worse guns, worse torpedoes, worse armor, just to get access to some pretty mediocre torpedo planes again at the same tier this time. The Kearsarge feels a bit like a Montana at tier 9 with, well, Tiny Tim rocket planes that fly across the map very, very quickly. You can see 176 knots with 216 on the boost. You're getting around the map very quickly. You're able to spot, you're able to impact the game wherever from wherever. And given the gun power here, I know it's not Montana levels, but it's close considering it's NC guns this time. If you're good with your aim and ability to lead these longer range shots with such floaty shells, these guns hit very, very hard. So a tier 9 Montana with Tiny Tims. That's not an entirely accurate analogy for this ship, but that is a bit of what it feels like. It is that level of power, in my opinion. It is a very strong ship, and you should be considering getting it, honestly, if you're okay with the whole playstyle of using planes, right? I know that can get boring, but at least you do have the main guns to deal with. I do want to talk for a second about the way you get this ship. Of course, you can buy it for real money. I personally bought mine for coal. There's been some people that have been weirdly infatuated with going on witch hunts about how you buy ships in the game, how I bought this one for coal. There's some weird things while I've been streaming with this ship, so I just wanted to address that here a little bit at the end of the video. Who cares what other people are doing? All you can do is control yourself. If you personally don't like the way wargaming is doing things, that is completely fine. And honestly, I kind of agree with you. But that doesn't give you the right to just go and harass a bunch of other people over it, right? So try and keep that in mind. I know it's difficult on the internet to keep a level head, but that is something you might have to deal with if you buy this ship. And of course, because it's kind of an aircraft carrier, you probably will lose a little bit of karma along the way while playing it. But I gotta say, this thing is overpowered. So just know if buying it, it might get nerfed. In fact, if it were up to me, this ship would definitely get nerfed in the future. So just keep that in mind before you spend money or some of that hard-earned coal on this thing. So that's the Kearsarge review. Hope you guys enjoyed it. I am going to be playing a lot of this ship because it's very fun to have this amount of battle impact out of a battleship. The ability to spot it for yourself is unbelievably powerful, and I'm probably going to play it a ton more since I do just enjoy North Carolina guns by themselves. So thank you very much for watching this video, and I hope you have a great rest of your day. And yes, I agree, it's incredibly ugly.